Congressman, before we went to break, we were talking about the crisis in the Middle East. Now we've got the administration also saying we might need to do airstrikes in basically in western Syria.
Right.
We've already been down this path, as we talked about earlier, and I'm very concerned now, and I think many people are, that we start dropping bombs on Assad.
Well, I think your concern is warranted. Unlike ISIS, which is, of course, a non-state actor, I mean, if Syria proper is a nation with all of its dysfunction and with its dictator and all of its issues, it still is one that's recognized, for example, by the United Nations. And I think this even elevates even further the imperative that the president seek and receive authorization prior to executing any more of an escalation of the military action that he's already taken. We've looked at the dates. One could argue exactly what date comes last, but I believe on our assessment that it's October the 8th. That is, that would be the limit under the War Powers Resolution, under which the president, even with the broadest interpretation, would have the clear legislative and legal mandate to engage U.S. forces as he has. So
right.
This would cause us to do a good thing, John, and that is to debate. Think about the essence of what the House is and, indeed, what the Senate is. We are close to the people. We're brought before the people every 2 years in the House. Our founding fathers were wise in that. It is our sons and our daughters, our sisters, our brothers, our husbands, our fathers who are going to be called to go. No district has a greater stake in the game. This is a literal statement than Virginia, too, the one that I have this high privilege to represent, highest concentration of men and women in uniform in the country. Mm-hmm. And I know this, with as many veterans as I interact with, from my favorite veteran, my 91-year-old Iwo Jima dad, Marine Corps veteran from World War II, all the way to the youngest private that just came out of boot camp. Our men and women in uniform, John, they'll sail, they'll fly, they'll march into harm's way. They will go. But we have such a duty to them to make sure that the mission is clear, the probability of success is as high as we can possibly make it, the investment is worth it, and that we've given them every piece of equipment, leadership, and training they need to come home safe and accomplish the mission. So that high level of test is something I want to restore in America. I think it has been largely absent. We've become too flippant with the use of force. And again, it is not a weakness to frame the issue this way. Indeed, I think it's a far better path. So we're going to have to engage in this, and I hope, and indeed, with bipartisan support.
Well, I think that's what both you're asking for, and other people that we've had on our show on two sides of the aisle, simply that we have a debate and we understand what the issues are. And I think, as you're saying, the president needs to come to Congress for authorization.
Yeah, and John, I really believe, I'm not in his inner circle, obviously, but I really believe he's being, and people who are trying their best to help him, but I believe he's been given a false narrative. And if I could be in that Oval Office and listen, I bet it goes something like this. Now, Mr. President, if you listen to these members of Congress, House, and Senate who are saying that you need to, that would weaken your presidency, that may show you as weak or whatever. I really believe that discussions like that, in one form or another, take place. Mm-hmm. And see, to me, it is counterintuitive, but I really believe the American people, Republicans, Independents, Democrats, Libertarians, the whole range, just as fellow Americans would say, thank you, Mr. President. It is not a weakness to engage the American people's representatives in Congress. John, he's not engaging regular House and Senate members who are of the Democratic Party. My friends tell me this. They're not hearing from him. He's not engaging them. And even more so, those of us who are on that proverbial other side of the aisle. We had, Terry and I, my wife had 3 members of Congress over to our home not long ago in Washington, the place we have there, and because Terry's a wonderful cook, and we're trying to use this as a way to break through some of the gridlock, and they just lamented I can't share their names for reasons that are pretty obvious, but they were just going, he's just not talking to us. This is not good. So we're going to do everything we can to engage the president, and I hope the American people make clear for their support of those of us who believe strongly in this that it's the right thing to do.
Congressman, you serve on the Budget Committee. Your chairman, Congressman Paul Ryan, former VP candidate, is running around the country saying the real problem with Republicans is they're not for some kind of a long-standing immigration reform or some kind of amnesty. And if they were just for amnesty, that they could get a bigger percentage of the Hispanic vote and they'd win and all their problems would be over. I think it's hogwash. What say you?
Okay. Well, and I'm not dodging anything here, John. I really am not, because you know me. I'll tackle any issue head on. I have not read his remarks on this matter. I just haven't. I have worked with him closely, of course, as the chairman of one of the two principal committees I serve on. And, of course, I have a high regard for him on the budgetary matters. We work very well together. And so I can't speak directly to it. Let me share with you what I believe, and that is that I think we need to have real clarity of what each member, House and Senate, believes on this matter. And I may have mentioned to you, John, that the word reform, like immigration reform, that word reform probably has, I mean this, I can't think of another word that's being bantered around right now that has more definitions to it than that word.
Right.
To some, it means amnesty. And to others, it means just kind of tightening it up, and that's it. I am for an absolute of the construction of more fence. I really believe, as controversial as that is to some, I really believe this is a solid deterrent. I think removing the incentives and making it more difficult to come here illegally and making it easier to come here legally. We're a nation of immigrants. I celebrate this. And, we've got this wonderful fabric of our full community, even woven into my own life, through, well, I won't go into all that, just the personal relationships and really parts of our family that we have. So the key is to, I think, as it relates, for example, to the children, I think that the humane and almost essentially an instantaneous return to their country of home origin, I really think this is in the best interest of the children. And I think I won't concede to anyone, a fellow Republican or anyone else, that that these policies are not best for the American people, and indeed the people who are right at the epicenter of it.
So, well, first of all, as far as what Paul Ryan is saying, I have looked at it. I did read what he had to say. Just trust me, you haven't missed much. Now,
okay, I'll read it.
You can read it, but it's the same old amnesty gobbledygook.
John, the children in all of this present the most difficult part of this. As a father and as a grandfather, Terry and I had the pleasure, even last night, of having our young granddaughter over, Reese, and to wake up with her in the home and to hug her. And children are so innocent, and I have great empathy. I know you do as well.
Yes. And
all thinking, caring people for those children who, through no fault of their own, their lives have been, just disrupted in a very harmful way, I believe. If you go back to my original point, and time didn't permit me to go into all the initiatives that I think that we should take on the border, but the guiding principle for me is that we celebrate the fact that we are a diverse country. That's not some talking point. That is my core belief. I call it the full and beautiful fabric of our country. We are representing, I think, to the world, imperfect as we are, the very best course of action, and the fact that we can govern ourselves, not with AK-47s and Kalashnikovs, but through a difficult process of a representative republic. Now, that said, we are a nation of laws, and we need to have control of our borders, if for no other reason than the national security concern of the United States. When tens of thousands of children can literally, John, and I know you understand this, can walk across our border for Senator Reid to go to a podium and then say that our border is secure. That is the most bizarre statement and unsupportable statement that I think I've heard in recent memory. That can't be reconciled with the facts. We do not have a secure border, and this really is the place to start. And as much of a fiscal conservative as I am, I will find the money, even if, frankly, I'll go on record, even if we had to borrow the money to build the fence, I think it's the right thing to do. We need to increase the penalties of those employers who knowingly hire people who are here illegally. We need to make it far easier for people to come here legally. I'll give you one quick example of that.
Go ahead.
And Mariana Kostova, dear friends of ours from Bulgaria, she and her husband literally won a lottery to come to America. You win the lottery in Bulgaria, that means you get to leave the country, John.
Right.
And so they came here to the United States. They've been trying to get her brother here for 11 years. I've met him. I know him. I met him in Bulgaria. A really fine young man. He'd be a great addition to America, as would so many from all over, Southern Hemisphere and everything. So it's not a matter of that, but it's a matter of, she called me and said, Scott, it's been 11 years. I'm having trouble. The agency's lost our file. And I said, Mariana, I'll help you. And that kind of system of helping people to get here legally in an efficient way. It took me about almost 2 years to get Roher Orozco, who's really became part of our family and lived with us, a young man that I met at the orphanage in outside Managua. Mm-hmm. And I know what I had to go through to get Roher here. And it shouldn't be that difficult to come here legally, and it should be more difficult to come here illegally. Now, John, I think we need to wrestle with something here, though. If time permits, we'll do it now. If not, maybe another show. But
go ahead. When
you've got these young people who they have never known another country in any sense,
right?
They don't have an accent of one country or another. They're gone to school. They're just John. That is the children who, through no fault of their own, and I know people say, well, maybe this got some other elected officials in trouble, and that's why they didn't win, and all this other stuff. We've got to wrestle with that one. That's a really tough situation. I've met with the children. Some break down in tears, speaking to me about this, and it's a very difficult situation. But we need to wrestle with that.